and we are back with Smart Main's Business. I'm Joram Posongo, and I'm here with
Barigi Andrew.
Just a reminder of your social media platforms, by the way.
At Barigi Andrew, Twitter, Barigi Andrew, Facebook, Barigi Andrew, YouTube.
All right, and Barigi Andrew, YouTube as well. So Joram Posongo on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, if you want to follow me up. And also do remember, this is Smart24 TV, where you can get us on Twitter, Smart24 TV, and Facebook at Smart24 TV as well. So just keep following up on the same issue. Now, we're also talking about the fact that MTN Uganda opened or launched its initial public offer ahead of, after being publicly listed on the Uganda Stock Exchange, which meant that MTN Uganda or its subscribers can actually buy shares from the company. And the shares that we're talking about here are worth 200 Ugandan shillings, as low as 200 Ugandan shillings. So you cease to be just a subscriber, but an owner. If you purchase 500 shares, that make you 100,000 rich of shares from MTN Uganda. I mean, every time you listen to that, you feel like if this is the reality, and you see, if I was still a young child, I would think if you have 100,000,
yes,
you would be the owner of MTN.
MTN. No, it's not really. You know, sometimes we see things from perspectives. Let's give an example. 100,000 is like you could be owning about 0.005 or 0.001 shares in MTN. Because we know people who are going to buy 1 million shares. People are going to buy 100,000 shares. That's about that's multiply 100,000 times 100,000.
So the more you buy, is the more you become.
The more dividends.
Okay.
The more you buy, the more dividends you get. It's more like, I can call it, it's a numbers game. But however, I would encourage you, that shouldn't discourage you. You can start from one share, you keep on up, because there is where you can upgrade your share. I had 2 shares. Then next year I can say, okay, let me upgrade. Let me get, before you know it. By the way, let me tell you something. This is something worth investing in. It's a long term. It's like they say when a mango tree is growing, it takes long to grow, but when it starts to blossom,
it bears a number of fruits.
For generations.
Just like you said, yes. And so that is the same thing with
stocks. When you buy stocks.
So when you buy, you're giving yourself a chance to actually have more at the end of it all.
At the end of it all, yeah. Something that can transcend generations. Because look at Charles Murray, when you hear he had to sell his house to buy shares in MTN.
But now he's actually, when I looked at the report, I think he's having the largest shares.
He's the largest.
He's the largest shareholder in MTN Uganda.
Yeah. So you see, it was a long time. You have to see something beyond. So when you're buying these shares, you don't look at the now, you look at the future, because this is I don't know how to call it. It's a tree.
And maybe for him, he thought he had a bigger house. You see, when you have a bigger house and you feel like at the end of the day, when your children leave, it will be too big for you.
To you, exactly.
And then you're like, no, let me sell it off when it still has the value in the market. And you're like, okay, let me sell it. And when you're done selling it, it actually happens and it becomes easier for you. So yeah. I think that is one of the reasons as to why you would see him selling it off to.
Exactly. It was a liability at the moment. But it's a challenging thing today. If people are in, and probably there is a company that is struggling currently, and they come and request for you to buy. It's quite, it poses a challenge to you, the viewer out there, and a challenge to the citizens of Uganda at large. In most cases, we need to know what our priorities are, and the priorities should be looking at the future, not the now. Shares are mainly more so for beginners. It's something which you could do focusing at the future. It's not something to do focusing at the now, because I don't want to speak things that are going to entice people. Oh, shares. It's something that needs patience. And at the end of it all, you need to get more information concerning stocks. And at the end of it all, also, you need to be patient and make a wise decision and take time to study what you're getting into.
That is very, very true about it. But the problem is most of the people are not really quite informed with the shares here in Uganda. And MTN Uganda actually said they'll be doing countrywide tours, use of buses, to see that they go on sensitizing the natives, more so from the rural setting, about the impact of these shares and how someone can actually, how these shares can actually be of help to someone. Because that is where the big challenge is. Most people are like, okay, you're giving us these shares, but how am I benefiting?
Now, you see, what MTN is doing is a good move, because it's not only going to impact MTN, but it's going to impact the Uganda Securities Exchange at large. And once that sector evolves, it benefits all companies that are doing it. And MTN being a cheerleader for this move, it will give it a certain position. I'm so amazed by what MTN is really doing. It's going to put it to a place, a global kind of an interregional powerhouse, because very few companies have come to do such moves. What they do, they just go on the Uganda Securities Exchange and that's it. Because it's like marketing, putting something on market and you don't take an initiative to go through the people to make them aware of what you're trying to put on market. It's like a vain thing. I'm not saying what they did wasn't right. It's because maybe they had this perception that the Ugandans won't buy this thing. And some of these, when you find the people actually who buy these stocks, there is a certain class of people. But how if we have a Uganda whereby even a person, the lowest person can own a share in a company? That's what, because it's people that build the economy, and once they are made feel to be important, made feel to be partakers of these companies, definitely they'll set a certain pace to economic growth of this nation.
And the offer aims to facilitate the broadest possible shareholder based in Uganda, with Ugandan retail investors making applications for offers of an aggregate minimum value of 5 million Uganda shillings to be allocated as the full number of offer shares for the minimum value applied for. Now, the CEO, William Vanelpute, noted that MTN will sell 4.5 billion of the shares to the general public as low as 200 shillings per share, with the minimum quantity being 500 shares, which means that with 100,000, one becomes a shareholder with MTN. Like I was saying, you cease to be just a subscriber and you are now a shareholder as well. Now, if you look at the other situation, a unique digital channel will be available for retail investors for the IPO subscription. That is the initial public offer. The MIPO portal, accessible via the USSD and via the My MTN app. Traditional payment channels will also be available across Uganda, starting off from Stanbic Bank, Absa Bank, and Standard Chartered branches, and authorized selling agents as well. So what are you waiting for? Why don't you actually kickstart off here? As MTN Uganda started operating way back since 1998, and it became the first privately owned telecommunication operator in Uganda. And since then has championed different initiatives, which include launching of 3G, 4G, and most recently, we mentioned the 5G.
The 5G. Last year, 5G, by the way, about 5G technology. For so long, the world has operated on 4G technology, and 4G doesn't seem to favor moves, because it's beyond. 5G is really intended for so many things. Really, so many things. One including. Anyway, those are things we could talk about some other time. Right now, let's just keep it MTN.
And of course, if you look at the situation of MTN and what it actually means for Uganda, it being the fact that they have over 14.9 million subscribers, which is roughly 8.6 million, with roughly 8.6 mobile money users and 4.7 million active daily in the country. So I think it is high time for you as a Ugandan to kick off from there as we are actually winding up to our topical discussion of today. And as we're winding up, we're going to head to the international scene as Andrew Barigi has more for us here when it comes to the international scene and what we do expect. Let's just take a short break. We'll return with the entertainment news.